The deposed president of Egypt, Mohamed Morsi, is due in court shortly, charged with espionage. 35 other people are also facing similar charges. Mr. Morsi was deposed by the military in July. He is accused of inciting murder and using violence against protesters. Those charges relate to the deaths of at least 10 people who were taking part in rallies outside the presidential palace in December 2012. He's also charged with conspiring with terrorist organizations. Prosecutors say Morsi worked with the Palestinian group Hamas and Lebanon's Hezbollah. His two other charges are for escaping jail back in 2011 and for insulting the judiciary. Morsi could face the death penalty if found guilty of some of those charges. And joining me now to talk more about this is Abdullah Al-Arian from Georgetown University here in Qatar. Thank you for being with us. Now, just talk us through what we're expected to see in today's proceedings.
Well, I think the case itself has yet to really be fully explained by the government. I mean, there's certainly a number of charges, very, very, very serious accusations, but there hasn't been any evidence whatsoever. And I think the problem, of course, is that these are very deeply politicized times in Egypt, and these are politicized charges. And this case is not one that is subject to the kind of usual rigors of law enforcement and investigation and evidence. It's really just more to try to continue to delegitimize the former regime, the former presidency of Mohamed Morsi. If you look at the people who are accused in it, I mean, it includes people who are respected academics like Professor Ahmad Shaheen from the American University of Cairo, who of course has been singled out and targeted among many, many others, family members, people who are not even members of the Muslim Brotherhood, who are all being kind of pulled in. And this is just a way to kind of silence the dissent and the people who've been opposing the takeover of the country by the military since last July. And so this is just a way to kind of put also fear of other countries, other governments, and try to sort of promote this idea of a strong Egyptian nationalism.
Do you have any faith in the independence of Egypt's judiciary at this point in general?
Well, we haven't seen really a lot of evidence of that, especially in the last few years. The judiciary was one of the reasons in which the revolution was kind of unsuccessful, because many of them, of course, are Mubarak appointees. They're all deeply politicized figures. The judiciary, on some occasions, has been known to try to, in some ways, negotiate between the pressures of trying to be fair and judicious and balanced, while at the same time also caving to some of the more political pressures that exist, especially coming from the military that has, of course, exercised tremendous amount of repression against any dissent.
And we should point out as well, as I think we mentioned earlier, this is one of several trials involving Mohamed Morsi. 4 separate trials. The others are involving inciting supporters to commit violence. The prison break in 2011, in which he and others are accused of killing prison guards. So where does today's particular proceedings rank compared to the others?
Well, this is by far the most politicized of all of the cases that have been brought against Mohamed Morsi. This is the one that really has tried to pull in as many other outside actors, as I mentioned before. It's the one that's also trying to engender a certain amount of bitterness and resentment and hostility toward other countries, the idea of espionage, the idea of this last Egyptian government as being a kind of traitor government, that these are all things that are part of the rhetoric, part of the discourse that the military has used to try to legitimate its coup against a democratically elected president, regardless of his performance in power. This is trying to show that there was a certain malicious intent to cooperate with terrorist organizations, to try to compromise Egypt's security and things along those lines that I think.
And as far as the timing of all of this, with the presidential elections expected in the next couple of months, Field Marshal Abdel Fattah el-Sisi expected, hasn't officially announced at the moment, but widely expected to run for president.
Yes, he is, and he's running on a platform, at least potentially, of law and order, of security, of being the sort of prototypical Egyptian nationalist candidate. And what better way to do that than to contrast your own candidacy with the supposedly traitorous Muslim Brotherhood? And I think this is part of that discourse that's being painted, and it's being done so purely for political reasons and not with any sort of real law enforcement or legal proceedings in mind.
Good to get your perspective on this, Abdullah Al-Arian from Georgetown University. Thanks very much.